right. So the next thing we're going to do is go through some of Notion's kind of out of the box functionality. We already have our task manager and we already have the organization by area. I made a questionnaire. Okay. And that is a task that I'm going to put in the task manager. I don't remember why I did that, but the beauty of Notion is that when we have little stragglers of things that are kind of like lying around, we can just kind of put it away and not have to worry about it. Because you can always move things. When you're in a page, you can go ahead and move things to the appropriate space after the fact. So now we're going to go through the things that are going to help you to pull together your workspace to make it easy for you to kind of find your space. We have our start page. Let's go ahead and give it an icon. I like to use a play button, and we're just going to make it purple because I said so. And we're going to add a cover, and I like flowers, so we're going to use flowers. Flowers sketch. And I know. And so, yeah, I like it. And so now we have our start. So this is going to be in the private section. If you want to kind of make a team space where if you were going to outsource your work and have people collaborate with you, if you share a page, you would have it under the shared page. That page would be only accessible to the two of you, but it would only allow them to have access to the things that are on this page. So that's really helpful for like contractor work. But if you're going to hire somebody who's like a VA or somebody who is going to be a kind of equal and active role, not in a more sequestered use case, then you might want to use a team space. A team space allows everybody who has access to that team space access to all of the things included in that team space. And so you all can, while you're working concurrently, save and collaborate on items. So I recommend starting from a team space just because we are all doing these things to be able to get help eventually. So we're going to make a team space and we're going to drag the page that was in the private space before into the team space. And we're going to relabel these uh, and kind of visualize these databases that are on here. If we were to put a new page, like when questionnaire was kind of hanging out on its own, you'll see that questionnaire became visible on the navigation. This navigation on the left hand side is populated by the pages and databases that are on here. And it makes it easier for you to kind of jump between each of them by going to here. It will allow you to kind of have a focused view of the pages of the database page views. So the full page, the whole database, instead of just seeing everything on one where it's inline and it's combined with both of them. So you saw that I kind of clicked on an icon and it automatically came up with the world. So I'm boring. I'm gonna use a checkbox for tasks. And then this view of tasks is really about by your different departments. And so I like the shapes to illustrate the idea of just kind of grouping things together. And instead of view of tasks, it's going to be um, categorized or tasks by department. Department tasks. Okay. Now, you have these views relabeled. You'll notice that if we were going to go to open the page source, you go to the task. But if you go to the view of it here, right? Like if you go to open a new tab, the entire view, that's how you get to here, right? But each of these is just a view of the tasks. So hopefully that makes sense. Ask any questions down below if you have anything come up, but this allows you to see things dynamically and also create navigation for yourself. So when you're on your phone or you're on your iPad and you don't want to scroll down on a page, or you want to just focus on kind of demonstrating, for example, the marketing tasks only, um, you can blow up a bigger view of the page and kind of focus there, right? We can add a cover for the view as well. So in this one, we're going to do lanterns. I like that. So, all right. Now I'm going to look back at my notes. If you have a overall single database for yourself for your tasks, you would that you can also populate it in your my tasks. This will basically only go to the tasks that have been assigned to you. The tasks need to have a person property, a date, and a configure your task sources. So don't see your tasks. Which one? More settings. So we're gonna turn into tasks. Okay. All right. And so right now we are assigning it so that the kind of global one here will be able to recognize it as a task database. And now you have the ones that have been assigned to you. So say, for example, your team is um, collaborating here and you want to see the ones that have been assigned to you, or even if your team's not collaborating but you've assigned things to other people, so you are doing the project management but um the nobody's coming in here to look at what you've got, but you see that you've assigned things to other people that you want to work with, like if you're an interior designer, and these are the ones that you have as action items, and you would be able to kind of remove them from being bogged down by all the things that other people are working on, right? If you have other tasks that are existing elsewhere, say for example you decided to have separate task managers for your client workflows versus your personal, or your managerial tasks exist completely separately, you would add each of those separate sources here to then have one consolidated my tasks view of all of the different tasks that you have going on, and it would show the source. The next thing I want to show you is search. So say for example you can't remember the name of the file you're looking for. If you start typing in things you remember from the page you're looking for, you would be able to find it. So questionnaire, so access is a word that's on the page, right? So assess is a word that's on the page. Questionnaire pulls up, right? Um, and all of these other things that have the word assess on the page would also pull up. So this allows you to search not only the name, which is makes it so much better than searching on a Google Drive or something that would only allow you to search based off the file name and then have to have a perfect tagging structure or a naming convention for your folders. This allows you to search a page. Also, databases will pull up. So if you type tasks, it will show the ones that are databases and the ones that are pages. Additionally, um, the search is really helpful for finding things that other people are working on. There is a feed view in the task, so you can see all of the different updates there, right? If you wanted to look at the edits that have been made, but if you are kind of trying to find something um, based off of time or based off of location or based off of who created it, you would be able to use the search pretty dynamically um, to look to find what you're looking for, right? Um, the next thing is the meetings. So the meetings allows you to connect your Notion to your Google or Apple email address, and you'll be able to see all of the meetings that you have for the day, your schedule, and be able to take AI meeting notes. Our AI meeting notes in Notion are great because you just get a transcription of the call. You can have it play out the consent um, audio, but this allows you to transcribe the call, get the summary, but it doesn't have to only be on virtual calls like a Fireflies or a Phantom. This allows you to also do live calls because all it's doing is using the audio, and it doesn't, I haven't seen it personally make too many mistakes in terms of the transcription. You can go ahead and change the language. So if you're speaking any of these languages, it will be able to do that transcription. And it doesn't need to connect your calendar. So if you don't have a Google or Apple, you would be able to still do transcriptions off of those calls. I've seen that Zoom, for example, has a direct connector with Notion, so you would be able to coordinate it within Zoom as opposed to within your email address. But the idea then being is that since it's completely agnostic to the the email in the program, you could do it for a live call, for example. Like I said, you would be able to save all of your meetings. In this use case, you might want to, if you're trying to keep everything super simple, you might want to take a selector property and make it a task type, and then this type would be a meeting, right? And so you would label the tasks in your meetings database that are in your, not your meetings database, in your task database that are meetings. And then you would also want, so that they're not kind of freeloading and not organized or staying in private. If you're gonna do that, my recommendation is to go into your settings, go into Notion AI, meeting notes, and then assign it to the database that you want it to automatically go to. And then all of the meetings that you save will automatically be saved here, and you would put it to the type meeting. You can also go ahead and, oh, I already did some of this. So you can also go ahead and assign it to meeting as a template, so that if it's a recurring meeting and therefore you can make the page beforehand, you would have it pre-assigned to meeting. All right, so the transcription would be here. You also can make your notes on that you're making that are outside of the transcriptions on this tab. So say for example, I'm transcribing this. The transcript would go here, the notes would be here, and then the summary would show on another tab. The next thing we want to go into is the recents. So this is what it sounds like. It's all the recent things you've interacted with. It is by the date. And so super helpful for kind of getting back to where you were. Um, the library is helpful because it basically breaks down all of the different sections that are on your kind of control panel on the left side. So if you were to hide any of these because you just kind of want to keep it simple with only the team space, for example, or the private and shared space for yourself, because you can hide some of these. You would go to settings, and go to general. Workspace content. Sidebar. You can turn off the other Notion sidebar apps. Their features to make sure. You can make it so that you have a home page. Cookie settings, customize. Ooh, we'll go into there. After the fact, I am still trying to configure this. So customize sidebar, right? And then you can hide the things that you don't want to see. So if it's the help, the marketplace, and you only want to see my tasks and trash, you kind of don't want to see the recents, etc. You can customize this to your liking. Done. Boom. So it's just a little bit neater. Um, and the control panel, if you want to do your navigation based off of the pages, so you're just kind of like clicking on here to open this up as a tab here, or you want to see it all as inline. That's the difference between kind of doing your navigation on the page versus on the team space navigation. And if you go ahead and, like I said, if this was its own page, and then on this I put a database, then this would open like that. So it's kind of like infinite nesting. Um, so it's easy if you are just using the title to find what you're looking for, but there's a bunch of ways to find what you're looking for, as I mentioned. Favorites is super helpful. Favorites is super helpful. It Once you hit the star, it will show up here as your favorites. It allows you to go quickly, just like you're bookmarking the page, quickly to what you are accessing most often. And I think that is it. We'll go into custom agents another time. Oh, your inbox. So let's go to these tabs right here. This tab is for your chat. So any AI chats that you're having, note that when you purchase Notion for Business, um, it comes with several models. Now Grok is built into here. There's DeepSeek, Grok. All of these come with your purchase of Notion for Business. So you are able to go ahead and have a regular chat with them. You can upload files. All of the connectors that you would see here are then would be accessible to your AI that you're accessing through Notion. So if you put a connector for your Google Drive, it would be able to search your Google Drive, your Teams, etc., to source information for the chat that you're having. If you choose auto, it just selects the model on its own. Notion really hasn't shared some of the back end reasons why a model would be selected over the other. I tend to prefer Claude, so I usually have it set to Claude. Um, and note that you also have access to the same AI on the page with this little guy down here. So it's based off of whether or not you want to start from the content on a page and kind of having a conversation about the work in the kind of like workflow, or if you want to start from a focused page dedicated to the chat sourcing from elsewhere. The next thing is the meetings. So this is kind of broadening out that meetings view. So you would see all of your schedule for today, based off of what's coming, and you would see the things that you've done in the past. So this would be your kind of ongoing meetings database. And then your inbox is everything that you've put a notification out for yourself for, as well as like notifications Notion is sending to you. So if you made a file import, if you put in if you added yourself on one of these and you wanted to give yourself an update. So instead of using this team, you had a note here. This not this team, this property, you had a note here, you were making your notes. Complete the first pass of the new client work. um Remind myself to remind Harry to look at the renderings, and then you at today, remind me tomorrow at 9 a.m. This is going to pop up here, and you have kind of separate kind of notification um, inbox for you. Because the reason why this is helpful, if you have a task that doesn't need a subtask that's kind of being shared with everybody, but you do want to flag it to yourself, this is super helpful. um Also, if you have multiple databases like an opportunities tracker or a deal tracker, and it's not necessarily a task database, but you do have time bound things that you want to be notified by, you can change the date property to have automated notifications for everything being like one day before or whatever. Or if you want to do it on an individual kind of entry basis, you would then put the reminder on this, um, on the date property here. So either on the date as a property or on the date as it is registered, um, or as inline reminder, because you can anywhere that allows for text, you can put in a reminder. So say for example, I had text here and I said remind. All of those are places that you can kind of go ahead and put in the date reminder. You can also flag somebody. So if there's a message to somebody, you can say, hey, Leslie, um, go ahead and look at this. It's ready to go. That's another way you can communicate. You can do it on page or in the comments, right? So really the best practice here would be to use the comments for those conversations, or to use comments on inline work to kind of discuss things. And then the page itself would be for the kind of content. And then the date for the overall kind of end date, due date, right? If you're using the get things done framework. And then kind of reminder inbox checking, workflow where you check your inbox every day for anything anybody flagged to you, anything that you kind of put in as a notice. And so you would see the tasks and the on page flags to you, um, to do your work. I hope this was helpful. Now you won't be kind of lost as to where you need to focus. You can give yourselves appropriate updates. And especially with this use of the inbox, you have one place to see all the different flags to yourself. Then with the My Tasks, you have one consolidated place to see the things that are task related by the source. And then you are able to configure your navigation to search things, to make it easy to figure out where to put things or share it with other people. Because say for example, the team space, Leslie's team space, I hired a partner to work with me. We could use this start, and we're sharing this with all of the tasks on it, but then individually we know the ones that are assigned to us, and this is where we work from. And Let's go ahead and add a cover because that usually does make things better. Little abstract action here. All right. I see you in the next one. Bye.